Hayes, have you watched the Jeffrey Dahmer series on Netflix? I have not. I have not. I have heard some controversy about that particular series, though. Apparently, I mean, I guess it's popular. I guess a lot of people have watched it, but apparently, the families or one of the families of the victims of Jeffrey Dahmer's victims, expressed that they don't like the fact that Netflix put that show up. And it seems to have caused some kind of some controversy about sort of shows on serial killers. And I've seen a few different opinions about it. One that stood out to me was this idea that people watch serial killer documentaries because they get off on other people's trauma. And I mean, look, I'm sure there are people like that who exist in the world, but I doubt that's the majority of people who watch serial killer documentaries. I mean, I've watched a few my day. I wouldn't say I'm a fan specifically, but yeah, I've watched a few. I might watch this Jeffrey Dahmer one if it doesn't get taken down. But yeah, I doubt that's majority of people who watch those things. I mean, for one thing, they could provide an insight into how people think. I think there's a lot of uncomfortable truths that can come out in those types of documentaries when it comes to how we treat people or how we understand people. There was one about what's his name? I forget his name right now, but they made a movie with Zac Efron. But there was one about that guy, and it kind of showed one of the things that a lot of people don't really like to talk about, was the fact that we often assign guilt to people who don't look a particular way, pleasing to the eye, and we assign innocence to people who are good looking. And this guy was a good looking, charming guy, right? And a lot of how he got away with so many murders, or managed to commit so many murders, is because he had that kind of good looking, trusting face that we kind of plaster all over TV and movies and things like that to show like goodness and innocence. And the truth is that, I mean, we get robbed by the people in the suits more than we get robbed by the guy in the tracksuit. You know what I mean? Like by the guy in the hoodie. So I feel like those documentaries, I mean, I can't speak for Jeffrey Dahmer because I haven't seen it, but I feel like a lot of those documentaries, whether they do it deliberately or it's just kind of part of the process, but I feel like they do sometimes expose uncomfortable truths. So in terms of people watching them, I feel like, yeah, there is definitely valid reasons to watch those types of shows. So this kind of idea going around that I've seen about people only watch them because they just get off on other people's trauma, I don't think that's true. At least not for the majority. Like I said, I'm sure there's people like that, but I doubt that's the majority. I think people watch them, at least most people probably watch them. And granted, it's not like I've done any kind of research in the matter, so it's not like I'm some kind of expert or whatever, but at least in my kind of empirical view of the world, I feel like a lot of people watch those things because they could tell us things about ourselves that we might not have realized, or maybe find difficult to confront. Like when you see certain things that people do, and you kind of think of your own self, like, okay, that's very close to how I've done things or how I see things. And it doesn't necessarily mean, of course, that, oh, that must mean I'm a serial killer, but it can give you kind of something to think about as to why you might do certain things, or what it might mean in terms of dealing with your own kind of past trauma and things like that. So yeah, I do believe there are plenty of valid reasons to watch those shows, but I have not watched that particular show just yet. I don't know if it even still on Netflix.